Welcome to After Work Conversations with Manic and the Jerk. We have
What's good?
we go over here.
Salutations.
Got the Jerk. We got myself, the Manic Genius. What you got on the agenda for us today?
Oh man, this is you definitely gonna like this one, man. And I know you've been wanting to kind of go in for a while. I had to keep you at bay, like a pit bull and stuff like that. So
You just called me a
male
dog.
validation online and refrain a little bit. I know you're ready on this one, so let me go ahead and cue up the first question and like toss it over to you because I'm not going to give too much background because we're going to break it down on this one. Usually, I'll try to give you guys more of a back breakdown and stuff, our background on it. But I'm going to just give you the question and I'm going to let you cook. So here we go. What is male validation?
Oh, male validation. Um, it's such a basic concept, but essentially, male validation is looking to men, um, or not even men, male, just men, boys, whatever, to essentially, give you a sense of identity and determine your worth. So it's it's just a basic concept of, you know, you not being him. You are when people say I am him, like you are not him. If you seek male validation, you are not. You are in fact the opposite of him. You might be them. No, I'm just playing. Them they. You are not him though. Yeah.
So you think like
Male,
when people? Oh, go ahead.
no,
I
I was
didn't
just
mean to
gonna
cut
say,
you.
no. Male validation is just when you can't move with, you can't move on your own accord. You kind of look for everybody else to, validate your movements and kind of form your identity. So yeah, that's
Okay.
it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think a lot of people, man, like when we see a lot of these panels, man, it's like kind of echo chamber behavior. They want to align with something, and they start spewing the same like talking points
Yeah.
to try to like you said, get that pat on the back from the rest of the group and stuff like that. People are scared to stand alone. Even though like some of them points are the most ridiculous shit that you'll ever hear in your life.
Yeah, the old
Everybody's like,
attaboy.
"Oh yeah, nah, that's right." And then when you start asking them like simple questions and stuff, the whole philosophy falls apart. So yeah, no, I think a lot of guys are doing that group think type stuff where it's just like, hey, sheep mentality. Like, oh, okay, I want to, like I said, have those like camaraderie with these guys over here. Even though it's ridiculous as hell and the borderline retarded. I'm still gonna align with that just so, like you said, I could get that validation from them guys. So you want to jump in there real quick before I jump to the next question or anything add-ons?
Shit. What's the next question?
Go ahead. Give me 1 second. Cue that up. So why are these men seeking validation online?
Oh, easy one. Because they are not him. Now, when you don't have results in your life, or positive out, or not, I'm not even gonna say positive outcomes. Sometimes people do have very positive outcomes, but it's not enough, um, due to like insecurity. So I would just say, generally men seek uh, validation or male validation, especially online. You know, it's out of insecurity. Not really being secure in who they are. So they go to a collective of people who think like them, or they'll modify their thinking and rationality to conform to, whatever social group that they want to align with. So I think it's very prevalent online because the accessibility of it. You know, we all have social media apps. One form or another, whether it's YouTube, IG, uh, TikTok, whatever your Facebook, whatever it is that's your vice. So I think people are collectively finding spaces, where other insecure men are, and they're filling it up, and kind of changing a narrative, and like, oh no, we're not insecure, we just understand. and it's these women's fault. Yeah, we don't have women because you know feminism, or they're all liberals, and we need to go back to a conservative, traditional life because that's when we could get women. We could get women back in that time. Like, no, you couldn't. Because
Oh, you didn't use the welfare one. Like, oh man, they threw guys out the house for this
oh
incentive,
yeah, yeah,
with
yeah, yeah.
poverty and shit.
That's the wildest accusation is that women would choose welfare over their dude. And it's like, if a woman chooses welfare over you, as you're definitely not the dude.
Yeah, yeah, you're worthless. And I be trying to get them to like understand. And I'm like, man, y'all hear yourself? It's like, man, if they literally choose this over you, that means, man, I think I was looking at the welfare number. You have to make under like 30,000. So she literally looked at you as like, hey, poverty is better than being with your dumb ass. So that's why I don't think they understand that. I'm like, man, y'all know this is like slander to us, man. This don't even sound good. Like, and why are you dealing with somebody with a mindset like that where they will choose poverty, where they'll think that's an incentive? So man, this stuff. That's why we had to take a break, man. We could have keep talking to these like dudes, but you're spot on. It's like based in insecurities.
And
It's
fear.
based in like their, like you said, fear, their limitations as a person. Because like you said, it's like, oh yeah, we could go back and like some Back to the Future shit and
Yeah.
pick up chicks or something like that. Like, no, you wouldn't have been a simp back then too. Like, it's embedded in you. It's your character. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like you could go back and change and stuff. So yeah, it's like everybody's hiding behind all these terminologies: modern, traditional. Like you said, all these little different phrases. I'm alpha, because I could scream and whine on the mic,
Yeah.
and stuff like
And
that.
I have other guys to scream and whine on the mic with me, and they're gonna pat me on the back and tell me I'm right. I'm like, yeah. So yeah, no, it's terrible.
So you think it's no hope for them?
Nah, I mean, there's hope for them. You just have to provide a better path for them. Like, I think generally people move as a collective, because there's gonna be some people that stand on their own. They're gonna kind of always move how they move. It doesn't matter. They're not changing with the weather. And then you have people who want to play it safe and they only want to move when the collective moves. And I mean, that's just, it's kind of how human nature is wired. You're going to have the majority of people going one way. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's the right way. It's just the way that's been pathed. It's the way that's been paved out for them. And it's just such an easy space if you're a guy who, is insecure, finding a lane and a safe space, if you will, to complain and what do they call it, venting. It's like that is that's a feminine trait.
Nah, it is, man. Yeah.
This is like, hey, that's kind of like the brilliance of men. Like, we talk, we have conversations, but our conversations are generally solution based. And uh some guys vent. I'm not saying that all men vent are feminine. I'm just saying that you know to vent without any results and any ways of solution is kind of pointless. You know, it's like going to the doctor and complaining, and then the doctor telling you, "Here's the medicine you need," and you saying, "No, I just wanted you to hear me."
Yeah,
It's
no,
like
it's funny you said
men
that.
are not built like that. We're not built like that. We're not built to sit up here and spend all our days on the internet, doing weirdo stuff.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, like you said, it's like they're all huddled up, and they're just like, it's definitely sheep mentality, because it's just like
Or hey,
when
hold on real
everybody's
quick.
echoing. Go
Well, I
ahead.
didn't mean to cut you off. You know what?
No, no, go ahead.
When you said huddled up, man, it just reminded me of the Little Rascals, but like the He-Man Women's Hater Club. Like,
Yeah, no, no, man, that's what
but
it
go ahead,
is,
man.
man.
I didn't mean
It's
to
like
cut you
so
off.
look, because the bad thing is like, man, I was like trying to let my son listen to some of this stuff, and he's like, man, these guys just get no chicks. And it was the funniest thing because I just started laughing and stuff, and I was just like, huh? He's like, yeah, man, oh, we don't have complications like that. My son's 21 and stuff, so he was just like, hey, man, these guys are kind of losers, man. And that's what he was like telling, and we were cracking up because I was just like, yeah, you're right, man. But if a young guy could like spot this, And he's just like, hey man, why don't they go and like change their circumstances? Because this is straight up, this is the conversation I was having with him. He was like, man, why don't they like go to the gym or low key get off the YouTube? They're on there like 5 hours, complaining and shit. He's like, he don't understand it. I was trying to send him some clips. I was like, hey man, you want to listen to some of this? He's like, I'm good. Like, he's like, yeah, I'm about to go outside and try to holler at something. So like you said, it's like when you're talking about the insecurities and stuff, it's just like, man, I don't think they understand like the presentation that they're giving out about themselves, and it just looks weak as hell. And then, of course, they would always, when we're trying to like talk about like, oh, you guys are simps or you're white knights, because it's like, no, just because I know how to have a conversation and I don't get worked up if somebody disagrees with me, that don't mean you're a simp or you're a beta. It just means you know how to have proper communication with somebody else, and you understand like this is just a YouTube conversation. This ain't like my life. It should be hilarious.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Male validation, if it becomes toxic, which a lot of times online it kind of unravels in there, because you start down the hill of like a real concern or a valid point, and then it just snowballs into toxicity, and it's just like everybody's one upping each other, because it's like, hey, who can get the biggest rise? So that's when male validation becomes like a harmful concept, where a man's sense of worth and identity is solely based on external validation from others, especially women. Uh, it leads to toxic behavior and all types of entitlement issues. Like, oh, I'm the man, I should be able to get every woman. Like, no, you shouldn't. You don't have your stuff together, so you should be dealing with I don't have my stuff together type women. not the women who are in the are highly sought after, because you're just not there, and it's okay. It's a process. More on that in the future.
Yeah, we gonna break that down more. But I do got a question for you, man, because it just came up. I didn't have it written down, but do you think this is all stems from like the fact that they're just bad with women? Like,
Absolutely. That's like your son mentioned it. He hit the nail on the head. It's like whenever you come from a stance of generalization, women, especially in such a negative light, it's really just either it's one, you haven't been out there to experience life, because just taking the consideration of rule of ratio, if you shoot your shot at you know 100 women, they're not all going to deny you, like, unless they're all like 100 women completely out of your league, and then it's like at that point you just have to have some self-realization, like, hey, do I have my stuff together to attract women of this caliber? And if you are 0 for 100, then the answer to that question is, or survey says, no. So I think it comes from people having very limited experience, and then with that limited experience, it was mostly negative. So they just have a negative outlook on the entire process, and it's actually very immature.
so I just caught something you said. So it's like, okay, they don't have the experience, kind of like fear of rejection, but also they kind of lack awareness of like where they're at, as
Yes,
far as like
self
measuring if
reflection.
they're they
Yeah,
can get the women that they truly want and stuff.
yeah.
So no, I definitely caught that. And yeah, that makes sense, man, because it's like at a certain point, like you said, it's like if you put yourself out there, it's like, and you say like you want tens, you holler at some tens, they're not receptive. Then it's like, damn it, you got to go down to nines and keep going down until you find like
Facts.
where you should be at. So it's like, hey, if you get down and sevens are receptive, man, you got seven game. That's where you're at. That's your market. Unless you build yourself up,
Sevens.
like you said. So it's just like, man, if you're sitting around crying, man, that's time you're wasting not improving yourself. So that's why I don't understand why you're. It's like, man, you guys want male validation so bad at the hindrance of you, having growth, or you moving up. You go and getting some extra bread or something like that. So
So
yeah, it's just a crazy dynamic, man.
I got to give you some pushback. You mentioned if you can't get tens, go to nines. Can't get nines, go to eights. Can't get eights, go to sevens. The only pushback I got to give you is that you stopped at seven. most
You said
Most of
it should be
these,
at the fours and threes, like that.
I'm talking twos and threes. Like a lot of,
You
if
ain't
you just
shit,
listen,
man. I'm trying to give
if,
him a little out, man. I'm like sevens.
if you listen
Yeah,
to
you know what I
some of
mean?
these dudes complain and talk, you just hear entitlement. You hear like a woman should this
I
and that. Like
deserve.
that's I deserve. Like
Yeah, it's very shit like.
you hear misogyny. Like all women are children. You hear misogyny. You hear emotional manipulation. Like you hear so much craziness, and it's all to hide their own insecurity. So
And the lack of shame. It's like they
and the
trying to
lack
shame
of
themselves into some coochie, huh?
yeah, I'm gonna shame these women, and then they'll have to sleep with me. Like, no, you might have shamed them, and you might have had some good messages in there. Like, I don't think the foundation is bad. I just think that
The messengers are.
the messengers are terrible in a lot of cases because these are guys that don't have a lot of experience, um, and and yeah, it's pretty crazy that or it's pretty crazy the fact how people can go onto a social media platform and completely try to reinvent themselves and uh, yeah, just regurgitate, you know, like that sheep herd mentality of like fear and relationships, and be relatively successful in gaining likes and the attraction. But it's just like you're surrounding yourself with people who also have that fearful mindset, and as soon as somebody opens a path that's better, that's not based on fear, it's going to be more attractive. And then you're going to see your following just transition. And you're going to transition too. Because at the end of the day, you guys are sheep. When you seek male validation, that is sheep mentality. I see so many dudes talking about, I'm an alpha male. This is what it takes to be an alpha. And they turn around and follow another alpha. And they think that they're the alpha because they're regurgitating their points. It's like, no, you didn't come up with that. You didn't live that life experience to come up with that philosophy. You just heard it. You see that it's popular. And now you want to rebrand it as your own and repackage it as your own, which is cool. But that's not the makings of an alpha. That's not leadership. That's fellowship.
Oh, shit. Okay. I mean, it's a fellowship. I
Yeah.
totally agree, man. Yeah, it's just like this. I guess the cyberspace is a place where people could come and rebrand themselves, and it's like you ain't getting outcomes, man. Just what they say, fake it till you make it.
Yeah,
It's
for
just
sure.
terrible, man. Because like you said, man, you can get some views and stuff like that.
But they
But
can't
it's just
fake it.
like, man, if you're accomplished in your real life, man, you're just not seeking that stuff because it's like, man, you kind of already have that confidence because, man, you don't went through the process. You don't, put yourself through the flames and stuff like that. So it's just like, man, I know who I am. I don't. My stuff is based in experience, so I don't have to like argue too much with people because it's like, all right, man, you ain't got to believe what you don't if you don't want to. But it's just like you're not hurting me at one bit. So it's like that's why I was like, a lot of times I'm not going to sit here and argue with people. I don't get worked up about stuff. I don't care. They could talk about me. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm gonna log this off and I'm gonna go, have a great life. So, I think they're so caught up in this space, like you said, it's just like I gotta keep seeking this validation from these dudes where it's weird because it's just like you would think you want to be on some fly shit for some females and stuff like that. I'm saying you should be looking for no validation from them either, but it's still at least you have some different type of interactions. But yeah, no, it's crazy, man. It's a crazy environment to sit back and watching it. Because man, we've been in this space about like I say a good year. Definitely took a long time off, but it's just like the same conversation from like day one. That's why I'm like,
Yeah.
y'all
It's just
just
like,
keep having the same whiny conversation, and then, like you said, like no, they'd be like, we're
but
trying to have improvements. I'm like, what improvements in a year, man? You ain't moved the needle, and even in a conversation.
but you know what? I have seen some things change. I have seen because when we
Like
first
what the
came up,
backgrounds. Yeah,
people's follower count, subscriber base increase.
yeah.
Because when we first came in this space, everybody back in July, because that's when we really kind of we tested the waters
So
and helped.
2023 or 22, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
2022
I
in
think
July,
I lost with these dates.
yeah, we jumped out there and started spitting some isms, and the lay of the land was be a protector, provider. You have to provide for your woman and do
Yeah, that
this,
trick
and
shit. Yeah.
yeah, everybody was a trick.
Episode 2, we
Everybody.
was like, hell no.
And how many months later now people are like, well, a woman should be able to, help as well to the household. And it's like, yeah, people are slowly merging over. But it'll be everybody. It'll be everybody soon. And it's
But
like
you remember,
when you say fly shit, women listen and they like that. And when they start flocking over, hey, dudes pick up on it too. They like, oh dang, nah, he's got a good point there. Let me rebrand myself and say that I don't believe that all women should stay at home. Now you're hearing people change up their story and like, oh well, my situation is different because my wife is this like bigging up their wife, which is the proper thing to do. But it's just funny how 1 minute you go just check the history books, like check the tapes. They people came on this platform preaching the man does everything, and then now it's like, oh well, women can help too now. It's like, yeah. Duh.
nah, we still firm on that one. Yeah, we was getting a ton of pushback. I was like, damn, like, why these dudes want to spend their bread like that? I was confused. Remember, I was like coming to you like, man, am I like off, man? I grew up around some PIMPs, man. Like,
But the easiest thing it was so easy to shatter their points because it's just like, hey, you want to be this provider and do all this stuff like this. How much money do you make? Oh, do you make 40, $50,000? Like, no wonder women don't want to be under your tutelage. Like, nobody wants to live a life of mediocrity. And in 2023, when you don't hit certain financial metrics, you're living a mediocre lifestyle. And then I would even, in some places, it goes below a mediocre lifestyle into like a just above poverty lifestyle. And women with options, they're not going to subject themselves to, following the leadership of a guy who damn near can't lead himself. So it's just like it's a showcase of your accomplishments and your accolades. Yes, you might have clout on YouTube or whatever social media platform you use, but unless that translates into dollars, yeah, some women will deal with you, but to sustain a household, you need that dollar bill.
yeah, you can't
Cash
escape
rules
math, man.
everything around me.
Yeah,
Cream.
you can't escape math. That's what some of them, man. They be like you said, you be listening to this, like, nah, she just needs to come to that and just accept it. You just go back to one car, one cell phone for. They're like, what? What kind of poverty shit? Ain't nobody going into
Yeah.
that. Then the other dumb thing would be like because I was listening to somebody, damn man, and they were giving a scenario like, man, if she was making like 500,000 and the guy was making this much, she should give him all
Yeah, she
her
should
money
get
and stuff and let him manage, let his dumb ass manage it. I was like, are y'all serious? Like, so even though he's like screwing his shit up, like, and this person is like good at finance, I was about to cut.
Yeah,
They
no,
can
you
just hand their
good. Let's
stuff
go in.
over. So it's like I get what people are saying as far as leadership, but it's like, man, that wouldn't even be like good leadership if you can't even get yourself right. You want to manage this like pot of money over some ego stuff, and that's why I was just like, man, I gotta lead these conversations, man. I was like,
Men,
the
I got men. Your genitalia does not equate to leadership. That's all I got to say.
yeah,
Your
no,
girl
this is like
and, and,
you got
and men, your woman might be smarter than you. It's okay. You can have a successful and thriving household with your woman being smarter than you. Some of these women are, and that's just the reality. They don't. And some women are okay with that. They want to be with a guy a little bit, you know, uh, less intelligent. I mean, some women want to control you. Like, I mean, you got to find your puzzle piece. That's all I got to say. Don't be scared of successful women. They're
yeah,
not
because
the
I
enemy.
mean, because
They
you
will
remember
help
I
you.
was always. Now I was always getting that pushback because they'd be like, man, you on a 50-50. We'll go into that more, but they'd be like, you got the leadership. Yes, man. Like, if you excel and you are who you are, man, it don't matter what arrangement you have, man. If you got the leadership qualities, man, you're gonna land in the right position that you need to be in and stuff like that. So, like you said, yeah, some of them need to be led. It's like shit, y'all can't even get the
Yeah.
basics down. You might need to have some female help you out, pull you up, because you
Yeah.
ain't doing a good job by yourself. But yeah, some of these scenarios I be hearing, man, I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I was like, I gotta get out of that space. I can't talk to these people no more, man. I started getting headaches and shit.
Yeah, I got smoke for the women too, but I honestly don't spend enough time in their space to like really, you know, come off the top and just,
No, because you're right, and we're gonna get in that more, with these conversations and stuff. But because it's balanced, because there's right and wrong on both sides. But just us being men, I'm big on like let's get us right.
yeah, yeah,
And then it's just like, hey,
proven.
after a year, man, we having the same conversation. The dudes are still crying. It's just like, man, you could have spent that year, man. You could have been chiseled up.
Yeah,
Amount of
yeah,
time
yeah.
everybody on these lines, man. I'm looking at some of these dudes. I'm like, man,
Facts.
they slumped over and stuff. I'm like,
Yeah,
man, y'all could have been like ripped up, man. You could have dramatically improved your situations out here, man. Your pockets could have been right. Because somebody was telling me, I was talking to them. They're like, hey, man, I see all these lives. A lot of people are spending like 3 to 4 hours on them. They're like, man, they could have got like a part-time job. And I was doing the mathematics. I'm like, yeah, damn, when you think about it. So it's like, man, your financial situation could have been correct. Your physical condition could have been correct.
yeah.
So it's just like, are you really like looking for solutions? If you're just sitting on something whining and like you said, seeking this male validation from other people, it's like, nah, you're not solution based. I can see if you got like you're making the money and it's just like, hey, this is kind of my job and stuff like that. That definitely makes sense. But it's
Yeah,
just like the ones that's just on there just talking and ain't making shit. It's just like, man, yeah,
yeah,
you lying to self at that point.
yeah.
But all right, man. Anything else on this topic? You kind of went in on it.
Nah, that's it. That's it for this topic. I'll just say
I did
like,
have one more question real quick that I
share,
let
subscribe. What is
me
it?
go
What's
ahead and
up?
pull it. Yeah, let me pull it up real quick. Do you see that part?
Do you think these guys are losers?
Yeah, you got to answer. It's self-explanatory. I just want to put that up there to troll a little bit.
Troll a little bit.
I do.
He's trolling. Are these guys losers? I don't think so. I just think that they are taking L's. Just
That's
taking a
some
lot of L's.
that's some politician type shit. That's that, like, are they losers? Like, nah, they're just taking a lot of L's in life. AKA, yeah, they're losers. Like, I don't think they're losers, man. It's just like they got to snap out of that place of like rejection. It's just like, look, man, get over it. Them chicks that you
My-
probably want don't like you. It's like move on or
yeah.
get your game right. Like that's it. Man.
Yeah, I mean, if you go up to a girl, right, just randomly try to holler or whatever, and you take that L, turn it into a lesson. Turn it into, okay, that didn't work. I wonder why it didn't work. And if you are so lost at why your approach didn't work, you're already lost on that opportunity. So there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, dang, maybe I offended you. Maybe I approached you wrong. What was wrong with my approach? Just to get some feedback. And she might give you a gem like, hey, you approached me looking kind of crazy. I'm used to guys, kind of looking a certain way when they approach me. Doesn't mean that she's right or you got to change who you are. You just know that that's not the type of woman for you. Like, okay, she might be a little more materialistic. That didn't save you. That might have saved you on some like future nonsense. So it's not
Yeah.
always a bad thing, but it's all about turning that L into a lesson rather than a loss. So it's changing the mindset. It's not being scared. It's really about being a man. You go out there, you try to conquer some stuff. You're not going to win every time. You're not going to win every battle, but it's about the lessons that you learn from that battle that'll make you stronger and will strengthen you to the point where instead of L's, you'll start taking a lot more W's. So I don't think these guys are losers. I just think they need some guidance, and
Okay.
that's what we're here for. You know,
Yeah, just get your game up, man. Get your appearance
Not-
up, man. You'll start doing better. Ain't no
yeah,
end all solution. Like you said, everybody just ain't gonna like you. I don't give a damn. You the flyest person on the planet, man. Like you gonna
yeah,
get
you could
some
be
type of
me.
rejection.
And still get
Shout
rejected.
out to the man that invented silk, but yeah, it's like, man, you're still gonna get rejected. So it's just like, man, you gotta get over yourself after a while. Like you said, you don't know what's going on in that person's head, man. So you can't just like harbor on that stuff. You just gotta keep it moving, man, and start messing with people that mess with you back, man. That's the key, man. And you can't sit there like a and think like you're settling or something like that, and just keep shooting for the stars. It's like you said, after a while, if you're not getting any wins on that, then you got to reevaluate. You can't just sit there in that place of bitterness, man. That's really what's happening. It's like everybody just mad. You know what I'm saying? They don't bring no females near you. You know, just sitting there and just in that state. So it's just like, yeah, man, hop off, man, and still have conversations and stuff. It's like, man, when anybody saying get off YouTube fully, man, I think it is good to have some social outlets and stuff like that. But chop the 4 hours down to an hour and a half. You know, spend a little bit of time that you was wasting. Hey, put it in the gym or maybe get a certification or something. You know, put it in other places, man. Go out. You know, shit.
You know, shit. Read a book on psychology of people, and you'll start to
Yeah.
pick up on different characteristics and traits, and you can identify people's kind of where people align with, and then you can kind of know who to avoid and who to approach. And then that'll increase your chances too because you can start approaching people that have you know, a little bit more like-minded. So it's another option. It's all about growth, right? You could be a person taking the L's today, and tomorrow the person who's taking a whole bunch of W's and who's critically acclaimed. So life
And
is a
we'll
progression.
we'll break down more of this stuff like in future lives because it just brought me to something when you were saying like kind of get out and stuff like that. And, we'll kind of give people places that they could be looking at.
Yeah.
So all right, man, we'll go ahead and close this one out, man. Any parting words? You threw a lot of shots today, man.
Like, subscribe, follow on IG. I am the Manic Genius. It is at the Manic Genius. Uh, yeah. And if you have any questions, comments, or want us to do any particular topics, hit up my DMs. Hit up the Sophisticated Jerk DMs for like topics. You know, we like having these conversations. It was just really hard to have them on lives with people who constantly want to derail conversations and can't really get to like the meat of the conversation and like have any like solutions. So
Yeah, and just to kind of give you piggyback off of what Manic was saying. Yeah, we want to kind of change the format because with so many lives now, and we kind of want to move in a different space. So we are going to like do something possibly down the line where we pull up like one person to come talk to us because a lot of people been hitting us up like wanting to break up topics, break down topics, and also they were asking us if we'll start some lives and stuff. We're like, man, where y'all been at? So we're gonna kind of change the format because, like I said, when you start getting too many people on the panel, it's like you want to go around and get everybody's perspective, but it kind of takes away from the conversation where you can't like go deep to where you need to be. So yeah, just stay tuned, man. We're gonna have some things. Subscribe to the Manic Sophistication channel. Information is gonna be in the video clips at the bottom. So it's just like you go there. If you hit the alert button, when we start dropping more information and stuff like that, we'll definitely keep everybody in tune. So, thanks for watching the video. All right, man, we're gonna roll out now. In and out like a robbery, man. Y'all don't get too much, man.
we out.